Today, we've got a great story from somebody who went from being a rocket scientist to now running a large Amazon agency and running a lot of his own brands. And he's going to give us all of the latest strategies as far as PPC, Amazon launch, and even Walmart. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Want to keep up to date with trending topics in the e-commerce world? Make sure to subscribe to our blog. We regularly release articles that talk about things such as shipping and logistics, e-commerce in other countries, the latest changes to Amazon Seller Central, how to get set up on new platforms like Newegg, how to write and publish a book on Amazon KDP, and much, much more. Check these articles out at h10.me/blog. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed, organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the e-commerce world. And we've got somebody here who's been helping serious sellers out there for years, Vincenzo.
Thank you, Bradley.
How's it going, Vincenzo? You're actually in the UK right now?
Yes, I live in the UK, in London, but I'm from Italy, as you can say from my name.
Yes. But by the way, I think I told you this before, but my favorite, or one of my favorites, Korean dramas. I watch tons of Korean dramas. Like I probably watch 100 in the last few years. But one of the top 5 is one from Netflix, and it's called Vincenzo, about a Korean guy who was born in Italy.
Actually, we got a team in Asia, and they always tell me, "Oh, this is happening right now in the series and all that." And it's crazy that there's this guy that's very famous called Vincenzo. But yeah,
yep. But so you were born in Italy, in Naples, you had said?
Yes, I was born in Italy, in Naples. When I was around 3, my family moved for business purposes to Venezuela, South America. That's why I also speak Spanish.
That's why you speak Spanish, because I know you've come on our Spanish podcast before. Okay, now things are coming into a picture here.
Yeah, I went to Venezuela, lived there 15 years, and then unfortunately, with everything that happened with the country, I left the country, and from there I went to the US. I lived close to 1 year in New York. Then from New York, I went to Toronto, another year or so. And then from there, I chose the UK to pursue like my undergraduate degree and my master's, which is completely different from what I do, which is...
What were you studying?
So I studied aerospace engineering, and I specialize in everything in terms of control systems and computer science behind turbines, yeah.
Okay, so then... Did you ever work in that after you got your degrees?
So actually, I used to work for Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is very well known for cars, but actually their biggest, one of the biggest revenue streams is making turbines for airplanes. And they had a manufacturing facility here in Derby, the easiest way to find Derby in the UK, if you put a finger in the middle of the UK, that's Derby. Is the most centric city in the whole UK. And I was working there. I worked there for 2 years. Yeah,
that's kind of like being a rocket scientist, right? If
you're
a turbines
engineer, we could say that. Yeah.
So then, I'm sure that's a good paying job.
Yeah.
What then inspired? Like, did you start doing stuff on the side while you were working there, like getting into e-commerce, or how did this happen?
Yeah. So the thing is, I love engineering. I love everything when it comes to space, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, because I come from a family that is very business oriented, it reached a point that it was getting that I wanted more freedom in terms of location, in terms of time, in terms of how much money I could do. And I remember looking online. That was around 2017 or so, ways of doing money online. And that's how I came into contact with Amazon. And then from there, I started using part of my salary as an engineer to basically just try things on Amazon, sell products and so on. And from there, I started selling multiple products, I did brands and everything. And
which marketplace did you open up in?
So I started first in the UK, then expanded to Europe, and then also US, yeah.
What was the first product you sold?
So the first product, which then became very saturated, it was, these elastic bands to do like exercise.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yeah, super saturated, and I will never advise anybody here in this podcast to do the product. But that time it wasn't that saturated. That was one of the first products, and from there, I started selling products, and eventually I was making more money by selling the actually my engineering job. And from there, that was also the period when all these Amazon events, conferences were becoming a thing in Europe and the
So
USA.
what year are we talking about right now in your
So we're
story?
talking 2018 around there.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then from there I started going to events or so, and then I realized, actually I could also make money, basically supporting brands and also business owners, because I realized there were a lot of people going to these conferences. They had an amazing product, an amazing brand, which is difficult to do. They did the most difficult part, but they didn't really know how to operate, right? And from my experience of being a seller, then I say, oh, actually there is another opportunity here. And that's how I also founded a CAMC, where we're basically a full Amazon, and now actually also Walmart, a full brand management agency. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Okay. Now, have you all throughout this time? Did you keep your own private label accounts going and still selling yourself, or you just switched 100% to just doing the agency?
Yes, I keep selling. Actually, I also doing a little bit of the wholesale approach as well, working with some direct manufacturers, and something I'm also very excited about, which I'm on the work of doing. I also going to explore the vendor work. So I'm working with some partners to also do the vendor program, like with some brands we're working, bringing from overseas. So yeah, I'm still a seller, but I would say where I'm spending most of the time, to be honest, is with the agency. We've been growing quite fast the last couple of months, and now I'm more focused on building the teams, all the processes, and making sure we're basically giving the best service and results to our clients that trust us.
From when you started on Amazon, 2017, 2018, around there, did you start using Helium 10 from day one, or you started later in your career?
So I remember when I started, my first actually tool was Viral Launch from my close
Hmm.
friend Casey Gas. Yeah, Viral Launch, I started with that. And then I remember after, listening many gods with AM, PM podcast, which
Yep.
was basically the biggest podcast at the time, and still right now one of the biggest. Manny announced that, he was bringing Helium 10, and I started playing with it. And to be honest, since then, I switched completely to Helium 10, and that's the tool I use for all my businesses and also for our clients. And in fact, we're actually working with Helium 10 to do some interesting case studies. Looking forward to that. But yes, we've been using Helium 10 for everything from A to Z. Yeah.
In your experience selling, what marketplaces have been the strong? You obviously started in the UK,
Mhm.
but what marketplace would you say is strongest for you now?
So I would say the strongest are for sure the US and the UK. Those are the strongest. And I think if you talk to a lot of sellers, that's usually the norm. Because those are some of the biggest markets. Germany is also an interesting one. I've been seeing traction, but honestly, the US and UK are the ones we're seeing the most activity, and also with some of our clients the same. Yeah.
How do some of your strategies differ? Because fortunately for people selling in USA, unfortunately for those in Europe, there's a lot of features like in Seller Central, that US has available, but that either Europe doesn't have. Like I don't think Europe has virtual bundles, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
So
lot
so
of
like,
things now. Hmm.
what are some of the biggest differences you say because of things like that, where your operations, whether it's your account or your client's account, where there's some huge differences on how you operate an Amazon USA account versus an Amazon Europe account?
Yeah, so I would say one of the big benefits of operating in the US and also in Europe is that a lot of the strategies that right now we're implementing, let's say in the US, they haven't arrived yet in terms of either in the form of knowledge through content or in the form of actually, tools through the Amazon platform itself. So the nice thing is that when things are happening in the US, usually Europe is 6 months to 1 year behind in some of
Mhm.
these things, and we can prepare our clients for that and make sure that as soon as they become available in Europe, we're the first one to take advantage of some of those tools. So I think in terms of strategies, of course, the US is another animal altogether. I mean, the US is much more a professional marketplace in terms of the players that actually selling there. It's much more complex. We see all this huge influx of money that came during the basically
Yep.
aggregator space, and we have all these big companies with hundreds of employees, basically 24/7 when it comes to Amazon. And the US is definitely a very tough market, I would say, right now to start selling from zero. where in the Europe that's not the case. Actually, in Europe we will see much easier for some of our clients to penetrate certain niches than the US, and that's actually been a key for a lot of our clients and the way we actually structure the strategy. Because what we're doing with a lot of our clients is that the ones that are struggling to the US, we've been bringing them to Europe, and we actually open all the pan-European program and so on. And with that approach of diversification and actually finding these untapped areas, they've been seeing a better results that actually only focusing in the US. Yeah.
Now, one of the I was just looking at your listing on the hub.helium10.com.
Yeah.
That's where we have like agencies and people who are part of our network, and you guys are actually one of the very few Helium 10 certified agencies in the world.
That's right.
But I was looking at your page on there, and it says one of your specialties is Amazon launch.
That's
So
right.
what are some of your launch strategy? Are you pretty much using PPC for launch? Are you relying on outside traffic? What's we could spend a whole episode talking about this, but what are some of the highlights of your launch strategy?
Yeah, something that's been working very well for us is using brand analytics data to basically understand which are the main keywords we need to focus towards launch. And I'm going to give you a very simple example for this. So the issue when it comes to launching is that people sometimes think it's all about generating sales at all costs and being negative for X amount of time until you get potentially rank organically on certain keywords. But we have identified that lately Amazon is being very heavily focused when it comes to ranking in conversion rate, right? So what we've been doing when it comes to launch is that first of all, we need to of course identify the top 10 keywords that bring the most revenue to our competitors, and you can easily do that with Helium 10 by doing a reverse async with Cerebro. We find which are the keywords where these competitors are ranking on page one, because we know that 70 to 80% of revenue comes from those keywords. Once we identify those 10 keywords, we then also, by using brand analytics, we want to identify what is the average, for example, conversion rate of our competitors on some of these keywords. And once we understand the conversion rate, that's when we start strategizing the launch phase. Because something that we usually do when it comes to PPC, and then I'm going to come back why the conversion rate is very important, is that we only start with exact match campaigns and we only start with the top 10 keywords. The reason for that is because when it comes to launch, and I see this a lot across a lot of people when it comes to content and events, and a lot of people are actually migrating towards this strategy, is that the idea of actually launching phrase, broad, automatic, and all these broad campaigns from day one is actually not efficient. Because first of all, when you're launching a product for the first time, Amazon has no data at all or doesn't have any relevancy history attached between certain keywords of the category and your product. And what happens, and in fact, you can do this test by going to Amazon when you launch a new listing. If you go and create, for example, a campaign on for phrase or broad and look for even suggested keywords, you're going to see that tab is empty, right? The reason why Amazon cannot even suggest a keyword in the first place because it has no history. So why would you give free basically a window to Amazon to spend your money
By the way,
randomly?
do you know how to do that? How to check that in Helium 10?
In what sense? The keywords?
The Amazon thinks is relevant to your listing for advertising. I'm going to drop a
Uh,
knowledge bomb on those.
drop it,
But
drop
I'll
it,
give you a chance
drop it.
first. All right. So
You
you,
got,
you
yeah,
put your you put your ASIN once
yeah.
it's once you have it active, or even if it's not active, you can do this. You throw it into Cerebro, and then most people, 99% of people who use Cerebro, they are doing it in order to just see, hey, like I just want to see where it's ranking organically or sponsor or whatever. And that there's nothing that's 100% right. That's what you should be doing. But when you have a brand new listing, it's not going to show anything for organic and sponsored because it's just new. So you filter it for Amazon recommended and then sort it by the rank, Amazon recommended rank. And the one that's number one, we're actually pulling that from the Amazon API in the advertising API of what score it gives that keyword. So then if you have trouble like getting impressions, it's like you just said, it's probably because Amazon doesn't think you're relevant. And so if you want to know what Amazon thinks of your new listing, put it into Cerebro. We're pulling from that Amazon advertising API. And then you could look for rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because those are the highest keywords. And I did that. I was launching this, one of these socks as one of these tests, and it's about bringing me like coffee, right? And so because it's a sock, like I couldn't get anything for like coffee keywords in advertising, even though it was, 100% like the number one keyword for this is bring me coffee socks or something. So I threw it into Cerebro and it's like, there was nothing about coffee. It was just all like just regular socks or
Yeah,
men's
yeah.
socks. And so that's how you can tell what Amazon thinks is relevant. All right,
That's
go
very
ahead, continue.
interesting.
But I
No,
like that. I
it's
like
very
that strategy.
it's very interesting. And actually, to also add on top of that tip, we also need to ensure, of course, to that work efficiently to make sure you have a very well optimized listing. Because if you didn't do a very well optimization in terms of the keywords you put
Yep.
on the listing,
Yep.
or even choose the right subcategory, which is a huge mistake we see all the time, then you could Amazon could actually recommend the wrong keywords because you don't have the right subcategories or the right keywords in the list in the first place. But now going back to the PPC, yes,
Mm-hmm.
we do only exact match campaign keywords because we want to make sure we force basically the system to build the relevancy between which are your top keywords and to Amazon, so Amazon understand and create that history link. And
Mm-hmm.
while we're doing these very aggressive exact match campaigns, we keep a very close eye on the conversion rate, right? Because they
Well, when you
think
say very aggressive, like what is that like? Like, are you trying to make a bid that's going
top
to
of the
get you only
search.
at top of search? Okay,
That's
cool.
right. Yeah. And what we do as well to basically spike our conversion rate, we go with a very aggressive coupon. So we do like a 30-40%
Mm.
coupon
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we need to understand that when the listing is new and you have no reviews, you basically
Yep.
need to find a way to make it a no brainer, a deal that somebody will say,
Yep.
okay, this product has 1,000 reviews, this one has zero, but what do I prefer to spend $50 or spend $20 on something very similar, right? So that's the thought process you need to do as a brand owner, and that's what we do. And by making the very aggressive price reduction, then we keep very close eye on our conversion, because then by using brand analytics, and we do this on a weekly basis, we want to make sure that our conversion rate on a specific keyword is very similar to what the top sellers are doing on those keywords, because that's how Amazon understand, okay, this product is actually catching up or having similar performance at the top sellers and actually deserve a spot on the first page. Because
Mm-hmm.
this is very important, and the reason why I keep emphasizing this is because I see a lot of people only focusing on sales and sales at all costs. But what's the point of having all the sales that you want by being on the negative X amount of thousands of dollars if your conversion rate is very bad? Then you build a very bad history for your product, and it's going to be very difficult for you to then build that organic ranking back again. So that's the first part of the launching. The second thing that we do is we bring some kind of external traffic into the formula, right? So the way we do this is, first, a factor we've been playing around is with influencer marketing. So usually we try to build like a group of 5 to 10 influencers that are very basically have a very warm audience around that specific product, and we try to come into some kind of agreement when it comes to bringing that external traffic, especially if we have the brand referral bonus, because with the referral bonus we get up to 10%, which most of these influencers, if you use only the Amazon influencer product, they get 2 3% at max.
Yep.
And you can do a very nice setup where they make more money, and at the same time they reward you with that external traffic. And by having a very warm audience, which, by the way, what we do in between to filter the traffic, we do a landing page, is to make sure that the traffic that comes from external converts very highly. And again, we spike that conversion rate, and Amazon also sees that as a way to rank your pro higher. So by combining very aggressive PPC on very relevant keywords, making sure you're converting very high on those keywords by being very aggressive with pricing, then using external traffic, which external traffic, I gave the example of influencer, but you can also do an email list. You can do even a Google advertisement. There are so many other ways. It depends on your niche, of course. I think those are usually the two approaches most people should be doing nowadays to rank your product high organically as soon as possible. Yeah.
You talked a lot about conversion rate, during launch and after, and obviously the one that spikes in the first part is just having that super low price, where it makes it a no brainer. But then obviously, you could have that low price, and if you have a garbage listing, your conversion rate's going to be low.
Of
And at the
course.
same time, you raise the price to regular, potentially your conversion rate could go down. So like, what kind of listing optimization things are you doing to try and make sure that your conversion rate always stays pretty high, even at a regular price?
Yeah, something that we do a lot is we use the tool within Amazon to do split testing, and we play a lot mainly with the main image. That's the thing that we see spiking the most the conversion rate, and thankfully, with AI, it's very easy now to come up with new images in a matter of seconds, right? Just by having the right prompts and using many tools out there. So what we do is basically we always keep during the launch phase when it comes that let's say we have a very aggressive pricing, and then slowly we're gonna start increasing the price because of course we wanna start getting the profitability. We start doing a lot of split testing with the main image and the title, which are usually the things that we see affecting the most, at least the initial results page, which is what people see the most. And we do usually the split testing could last usually between a window of 1 week to 2 weeks periods, and we test different angles, different shadowing, size of the product in the main image with the packaging, sometimes even the contrast of the colors. And these are things that we keep testing on a week or 2 weeks period to see if the conversion rate spikes or doesn't spike. And then that's how we keep doing split testing. Then after we actually have found the best like image, because it reaches a point after doing a lot of split testing that you're not going to have a lot of fluctuation on your results, then you start testing other things such as the title. Then you can even do split testing within the listing itself, and always keep an eye that your conversion rate is close to the standard of what your competitors are doing. Because if you keep that conversion rate within those standards, your organic rank is going to stay stable, right? And what most people have seen, which is they go to first page because they do all these hundreds of sales to maybe rebates, which is not allowed, or external traffic and so on. But once they stick on first page, they don't stick the landing because of what? They don't have the conversion rate, which is very important. Yeah.
So to look at your competitors' conversion, are you talking about like at the keyword level? So then are you looking at search query performance to look at your competitors' conversion rate? Okay.
That's right. So that's
how else
we
are you using search query performance? You've mentioned it a couple times, now. Is
Yeah.
there any other ways that it's in your kind of SOP to manage the effectiveness of a listing?
Sure. Another thing that we have a close eye is the basket analysis. So we usually like to understand if people, after buying a certain product, are buying other accessories or things like that. Because then, if we identify a strong pattern when it comes to the basket analysis, what we can do with that is basically we can say, okay, these certain competitors keep getting a purchase in the same transaction. Let's actually do some pro targeting, heavy pro targeting on these products, because there's definitely a link there and we can leverage that. And usually if you identify the right matching between data, we have found a good use of that data. Another thing that you can use brand analytics to is to also understand how your conversion rate throughout the funnel improves, right? From the impression to the actual add to cart to the actual purchase, right? So if usually throughout the whole channel you see that you're having some kind of downwards in terms of conversion, like people add to cart, but then for some reason then they're not making a purchase, that's usually a red flag. Because if they went all the way to the funnel and then they're not actually converting a purchase, it could be an issue of pricing usually. So then we start playing with pricing. But if the opposite happens, like throughout the whole funnel impressions are relatively low, then actually from those impressions the conversion become higher in terms of add to cart, and from that add to cart the purchase conversion is much higher. That means the issue is that we're not pumping enough traffic into this listing in the first place. So that's when we decide actually we need to put more money and scale our advertisement. So that's usually some of the sort of process we do with brand analytics.
Now, for your own brands or for your customers' brands who come to you and say, "Hey, we'd like to, launch some new products," how are you doing? What are some of your product research methods? Like, how are you finding, product line extensions or new opportunities? Whether it's a brand new brand or looking at a brand where, hey, we want to add a couple of SKUs. What are some of your methods for finding opportunity?
So one of the things, well, helium 10, of course, we're using black box for that, so you can find amazing ideas there when it comes to accessories throughout the whole catalog tool that black box gives you in terms of finding competitors or accessories and things like that. That's one way of doing it. The second way that we do it is basically by using brand analytics. Just to make a quick point on this again, which is using the basket analysis and see if there is some kind of accessory that people keep buying with your product. Like, let's say you're selling vitamin C, and then you see every single person that buy vitamin C buys magnesium. there's a correlation there. So maybe you're missing magnesium in your supplement lineup. Let's try a magnesium. And then when we launch magnesium, we use, for example, sponsored display, a type of target advertisement, and we retarget vitamin C clients, because we have seen from data that people that buy vitamin C realistically could buy also magnesium. So that's usually a top process that we can also do. Then the third thing that we can use, we actually will be doing that a lot, and I'm going to be speaking on a conference next week about this, is using AI. AI has been amazing for this, because usually what we can do with AI as well is that, for example, one simple way of doing this, you can now with the AI analyze the reviews of a specific niche, and you can tell, let's say, this AI, tell me what the top things people love about this niche, things that people hate about this niche, a specific product, and things that people potentially would like to see on a product. And then with those ideas, you could try to come up with a new variation, maybe a new functionality, a new feature that is like on the market. And that's usually it's been working very well, because then once you have some ideas drafted that the AI throws at you, then you could even keep using AI to give you ideas in terms of how you can even start the manufacturing process, the launch process, how you could do the branding. AI is been amazing for that.
What's a Walmart strategy? You can say, a lot of people are reluctant, maybe, sometimes to sell on Walmart, but Carrie even has some products that she sells more on Walmart than she does on Amazon. Of course, that's not that's more the exception, not the rule. But regardless of if a product is a home run or not, I'm sure you have, a couple go-to strategies maybe you're using for Walmart.
Yeah, so when it comes to Walmart, totally agree with you. So not all the pros that are working on Amazon will work on Walmart in the first place. So something that you need to do is first do a market analysis on Walmart as well. And thankfully, Helium 10 has amazing tools when it comes to Walmart as well. So you can analyze the search volume of certain keywords. You can see what are the relative revenue that some of your competitors, potential competitors, are doing Walmart. And then from there, you can make basically a strategy and an educated basically projection of if it's going to be a good market or not for you. What I will say about Walmart, and this is something I'm very excited, because in the last couple of months we became official partners with them. We're one of the only agencies, only 20 agencies are working directly with them, and we're one of them. And because we're having a lot of meetings with them and things in the back end. Something that I feel people is missing Walmart is, I understand that we come from the Amazon space, and everybody's always in love with the 7 figures, 8 figures, and all that kind of stuff. And because they don't see that now on Walmart, sometimes they step backwards, and they don't do it. It's Walmart right now, because of the patterns I'm seeing, the numbers I'm seeing and everything is like 2014-15 Amazon, right? And I
Mhm.
feel like maybe you're not gonna do the same amount of money that you do on Amazon, and maybe you could imagine that yes, you're gonna dilute your efforts by going to Walmart. But I can definitely guarantee you that Walmart, if you jump right now, you're gonna have the early move advantage. We're talking about some of our clients that are paying $2 to $3 on CPC on Amazon. When we bring it to Walmart, we're paying sometimes 50, 70 cents, right? That's a huge difference. The competition is much lower. And because we already have that, brand, Amazon brand, that, the Amazon brand is like a survival brand. We know all these tricks already about PPC, how to do some kind of video and all that. And Walmart is only in baby steps compared to Amazon. If you bring that experience and you bring that, especially a very good product, I think you're really set for success, because Walmart are doing amazing things in the back end. Very exciting things are coming, and I think it's really the only one I see right now in the market that can compete with Amazon. So definitely give it a try for sure.
All right. So what I want to do now is, as an agency, you have so much experience with a lot of sellers. So I'm going to do one negative, and then we're going to go one positive. But the negative, you don't have to mention any names or throw anybody under the bus here. What is the craziest, stupidest thing that you have seen one of your clients was doing? Because that always happens. You onboard a client, and you got to take a look at their account and see what their strategies have been, and you got to. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have a job if they were doing everything perfectly. There's no reason to hire somebody like Ecomcy. But what is the most face palm event where you're just like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe these guys were doing this. Like they have never negative matched a PPC keyword in the history. Just something crazy. Can you is there anything you can think of, like a funny story that you
Uh,
noticed when you took on a client?
Yeah, there are many, but I mean, for example, one that I can think on top of my mind is this guy that he was doing pretty decent. This guy was a seven-figure seller, and when we went inside his PPC, I mean, usually when you're doing seven figures, you expect people should have figured out how to do PPC, right? And we go inside, and this guy had campaigns, manual campaigns. Like this guy had a campaign with around 500 keywords on it, and the 500 keywords were all mixed between exact, phrase, and bro. So that he had the same keyword, exact, phrase, and bro in the same campaign, and he didn't have any negative match. So it was like a carnival, all over the place. It was madness, and yes, that's a very easy example I can think. Another one is like this other guy. Also a very good product and branding, and they were doing also nice revenue, only doing automatic targeting. They've been doing selling since 2015. They only had automatic campaigns that never test like product targeting, sponsor brands, sponsor display. We have seen even people without using anything in the backend, no search terms, or having their
Mhm.
own subcategory. I mean, these are crazy things like this all the time, and it's crazy because when these people come to you and you see their revenue, you say, how you came it, you made it this far with all these mistakes, and it's crazy. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's flip it so that instead of the horror stories, what is some cool success stories? Like somebody you were able to help them with some strategies, and they were able to double their sales, or they just tried this one thing, and they brought in all this new traffic, or some kind of cool story that you can share.
Yeah, of course. So we have this supplement brand that came to us, and when they came to us, they were doing like 500,000 or so in revenue, so they were not very big. And the thing is, this was like a client that bought the brand during the aggregator crazy period, right?
Hmm.
There was a person that he had no clue about Amazon. They just bought this because his accountant say, "Oh, Amazon businesses are now hot. You you should buy one." Okay, and they bought this Amazon brand. They had no clue about Amazon. They came to us like, "We just spent all this huge amount of money on buying this brand, and we have no clue." We came in and we had to redo everything from scratch because all the listings were breaking compliance, doing claims that weren't right. So we had to do all the images, listings, reapply for some of their categories. On top of that, what we did is because they were doing only USA, we actually had them to expand to Europe as well, and now we actually also bring it into Walmart on a span of around close to 3 years. They went from doing, as I say, close to 500,000. Now they're close to hitting 4 million in revenue because of all these crazy things that we did from scratch for them. So this is literally the power of doing things right, because
Yep.
these guys had no clue about Amazon, and we came in and we basically remade the brand from scratch. And I think just to make an emphasis on this case study, one of the things that brought the most revenue for this brand was actually doing the international expansion. This is something I know people is scared about that because of taxes, because of the languages and all that. But please, guys, if you're the type of seller that you're already controlling 70% of a specific niche, even 60%, don't lose sleep of getting the extra 10 to 20%. Use the extra budget and effort to expand into other marketplaces, because I feel Amazon, the easiest way to scale are two ways: either new marketplaces or more product. I feel there's always this thought process for some sellers that, oh, is I haven't reached my potential because I haven't found the perfect bid or the perfect keyword or the perfect placement. Sometimes the reality is that you reach certain level that's it on specific niche, and the best way to keep growing is just diversify. Don't lose sleep on having the perfect tacos. So
Hmm.
that's my advice. Yeah.
I like perfect tacos, but I'm talking about the ones that I eat. Carnitas, carne asada. There you go. Anyways, before we get into your final tip, your final strategy of the day, I just want to show people like how they can reach out to you. So guys, just go to hub.helium10.com and then type in the search ecomcy, ECOMCY, and make sure you're signed into Helium 10 when you do it, because I didn't even realize this until I saw this. If you're signed into Helium 10, you can actually qualify here for a a 10% off discount with them and a free consultation. But other than here, how can people find you like on the interwebs, maybe, and also your podcast too?
Yeah, sure. So the agency, if you look for it, comes in all the social media platforms. You're gonna find us. My name Vincenzo Toscano on all the social media. I'm very active, mainly on LinkedIn, doing a lot of content there. And the podcast, if you're interested, is the e-commerce lab. And we also do like two episodes per week, also bringing experts from the field to talk Amazon related stuff and e-commerce. Yeah.
All right, so now let's close it off with your 60-second tip or 60-second strategy. What is something that you haven't, you've been giving us strategies the whole day, but what is something you haven't mentioned that's kind of like a quick hitting one that you think people can learn from?
Yeah. So when it comes to strategy, something that we've seen a lot. I know maybe you have heard this tip before, but it's focusing on the second language of the country you're selling on. So, for example, something we're having a lot of success lately with our US brands is using Spanish keywords. In Canada, we're using French related keywords. For example, in Germany, there's a big population of Turkish people, Polish, and all of that. So there's a huge potential of using secondary languages on all these markets. And on top of that, what I would advise as well, as an extra plus tip on top of this tip, in the US, for example, you can request your translation to be updated, the Spanish one, because some of the translations that have been done, if the listen is old, it was done with the old translation engine that Amazon had at the backend. So you can actually request Amazon to redo your translation, and this sometimes can help you a lot to reindex for some Spanish keyword that you're not indexing the first time, and actually be more relevant for Spanish related keywords. So that would be my tip. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. And it was fun to come on your podcast. Now we've been on each other, so I'm sure we'll do it again sometime next year. And I'm excited to see about this case study you've been working on with the other team, and we'll definitely let everybody know when that's ready as well.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And until the next one. Yeah.
All right. I hope to see you maybe in Italy if you're going to come when I go to this event in September. So let's meet it in Milan. All right. We'll see you then.